In forgotten deserts and buried cities, whispers of lost civilizations echo through the dust. Symbols no one can read, structures no one can explain, and artifacts that shouldn't exist. These are not myths, they're puzzles carved into stone, daring us to question everything we know about history. This is where archaeology meets the unknown, and logic takes a step back. Nestled at the foot of the Great Sphinx and not far from the Great Pyramid of Giza, the Valley Temple, often overshadowed by its more famous neighbors, hides in plain sight. Yet this unassuming structure has sparked fierce debate among archaeologists and geologists for decades. Not because of its impressive design, nor because of ornate carvings, there are none, but because of its strange erosion marks and impossibly massive stone blocks, raising a bold question. Could the Valley Temple have actually survived a global Great Flood? What do you think is the Valley Temple? A structure built by the ancient Egyptians, or the last remnant of a forgotten civilization buried by flood and time? Share your thoughts, because who knows, you might be the one to help unlock one of humanity's greatest mysteries. Most tourists who visit Giza focus their attention on the pyramids or the Sphinx. But if you walk around in front of the Sphinx, you'll notice a square, undecorated structure with towering stone walls. This is the Valley Temple, believed to be the place where the mummification rituals of Pharaoh Khafra were carried out. Yet behind that official facade lies a series of unresolved mysteries. The Valley Temple is built from limestone and granite blocks estimated to weigh up to 200 tons, each equivalent to the weight of a Boeing 747 jet. These stones were not only transported from quarries located hundreds of kilometers away, but also stacked with near-perfect precision, without mortar. This construction technique far exceeds what we know of ancient Egyptian standards and has puzzled many modern engineers. One of the strangest features of the Valley Temple is its complete symbolic silence. There are no hieroglyphs, no reliefs, and no decorative motifs on its walls. This is in stark contrast to the traditions of ancient Egyptian civilization, where pharaohs consistently used architecture to display their power, record mythology, and immortalize their names. This absence has led many scholars to question, was the Valley Temple truly built by the Egyptians, or was it an ancient structure merely repurposed by them? If so, who were its true builders, and from what era might it actually date? One of the most controversial pieces of evidence regarding the Valley Temple is the presence of vertical erosion marks on its stone surfaces, something that doesn't align with Egypt's current arid desert climate. According to geologist Robert Schoch, these marks weren't caused by wind-blown sand, but rather by prolonged periods of heavy rainfall and flowing water. This suggests that the structure once existed in a humid, rainy climate, possibly during the end of the Ice Age, around 10,000 to 12,000 years ago, when Egypt was lush green and filled with rivers and streams. If this theory is correct, it would push the age of the Valley Temple back thousands of years before the rise of ancient Egyptian civilization. That would mean either the Egyptians inherited this structure from an earlier unknown civilization, or that we have completely misunderstood the trajectory of human development. But what kind of structure could survive for millennia through global floods, climate upheaval, and the wear of time? One of the boldest and most controversial theories surrounding the Valley Temple is the question, could this structure be a surviving remnant of a global Great Flood? When we look across ancient legends from around the world, from Sumer, Babylon, India, and Greece, to the Bible, we find a strangely consistent motif, a cataclysmic flood that wiped out nearly all of humanity, sparing only a few individuals who were either forewarned or possessed advanced knowledge. Were these simply myths or veiled memories of real events passed down through symbolic storytelling? When compared to the water erosion marks on the Valley Temple's stone walls, it becomes clear that this was not merely the result of normal rain or localized flooding. These marks suggest the structure once endured sustained rainfall or a flood of massive proportions, possibly even on a global scale. The temple's architecture adds weight to this theory: no roof walls several meters thick, and a complete lack of decoration or religious imagery. None of this serves to showcase power or glory. It looks instead like a building designed to withstand extreme natural disasters and endure through deep time. Some researchers even propose that the Valley Temple may have been built as a prehistoric vault meant to safeguard sacred artifacts, vital information, or ancient knowledge from the collapse of a world that existed long before recorded history. If this is true, then the Valley Temple is not merely a religious structure, it is a refuge for human memory, surviving both the ravages of time and the legendary floods that tried to erase it. The Great Flood hypothesis is more than just legend. Many modern scientists have confirmed the existence of extreme climate events around 12,000 years ago, most notably the Younger Dryas, a sudden return to glacial conditions after the Ice Age. This event triggered rapid melting of ice sheets and a sharp rise in sea levels, potentially causing massive global flooding. If the Valley Temple truly dates back to that time and survived it, then it could very well be the first physical evidence of what ancient myths have been hinting at for millennia. If the Valley Temple truly survived a global cataclysmic event, then there might have existed a prehistoric civilization with extraordinarily advanced construction capabilities now lost to history. Structures like the Valley Temple may hold important artifacts or information that modern humanity is not yet capable of understanding or unlocking. Ancient legends long dismissed as myth could actually contain fragments of real historical events that have yet to be rediscovered. The Valley Temple may appear simple and unremarkable, but behind its towering stone walls lies a story that could overturn everything we currently believe about human history. Whether or not you accept the Great Flood theory, the physical erosion, the extreme architecture, and the total absence of texts all point to one conclusion: we don't know everything about our past. And perhaps the Valley Temple is still waiting to be decoded, its layers of stone and water-worn walls acting as silent letters etched into history by time, rain, and oblivion. In the heart of the Egyptian desert, far from the polished grandeur of Giza's pyramids, stands a monument that predates them all, the Step Pyramid of Saqqara. At first glance, it may appear modest compared to its younger cousins, but beneath its limestone exterior lies something far more radical. This structure was not only the first pyramid Egypt ever built, it was also perhaps the first true mega-project in human history. Constructed over 400-600 years ago during the Third Dynasty, this architectural marvel was commissioned by Pharaoh Djoser and brought to life by his vizier and architect Imhotep, a name that would echo through Egyptian history. What began as a simple tomb evolved into a towering six-tiered pyramid standing nearly 60 meters tall, composed of over 330,000 cubic meters of limestone. But it was more than just size that made it revolutionary. Question for you: if this truly was humanity's first mega-project built with no iron tools, no wheels, and no written blueprints, then how did they do it? Was it purely ancient ingenuity and manpower? Or could there be something we're still missing? Drop your theories in the comments. We're listening. To understand the scope of Saqqara, one must imagine the sheer logistics of its creation in the context of ancient Egypt. This was not a small-scale tomb built by a local village. It was a national endeavor, mobilizing thousands of laborers, architects, masons, artists, and logistical coordinators, all working in unison across years, if not decades. From quarrying massive blocks of limestone to transporting them across desert terrain, the demands were unprecedented. There were no iron tools, no wheels, no modern scaffolding, and yet they managed to erect one of the largest stone structures the world had ever seen. The organizational structure required to make this happen suggests a centralized state apparatus of stunning sophistication. Djoser's government had to plan delegate feedhouse and direct thousands of workers while also maintaining Egypt's day-to-day functions. This alone makes the Step Pyramid stand apart, not just as a tomb, but as a symbol of Egypt's leap from regional power to a coordinated civilization. The pyramid wasn't built in isolation. It was the centerpiece of a massive 15-hectare funerary complex, complete with temples, courtyards, ceremonial buildings, and high walls. This was no mere burial site, it was a political and spiritual capital, meant to mirror the pharaoh's earthly kingdom in the afterlife. Every block, every corridor, every symbolic structure had to be designed with intention. And all of this required not just architectural vision, but bureaucratic will. The scale of this undertaking suggests the first large-scale workforce management in history. It's likely that work crews were divided by skill and organized hierarchically, with supervisors reporting to project leaders who in turn answered to elite officials. This implies the presence of record-keeping, taxation, supply chains, and central oversight elements we typically associate with modern states. In this way, Saqqara wasn't just Egypt's first pyramid, it was a visible expression of centralized authority, a declaration that Pharaoh's power extended beyond warfare and religious rites. It was logistical, infrastructural, and deeply administrative. Before Saqqara tombs were simple mastabas, low rectangular structures made of mud brick. The Step Pyramid was a radical departure. It was built entirely of stone, and instead of a single level, it reached upward in 6-stepped tiers. This wasn't just a technical leap, it was a conceptual one. Imhotep and his team weren't just building higher, they were redefining what a monument could be. And in doing so, they altered Egypt's cultural trajectory for millennia. The switch to stone was more than aesthetic, it signaled permanence. Unlike mud brick, stone would endure across generations, across dynasties, perhaps even across the apocalypse. Djoser wasn't just building for himself, he was building for eternity. And to manifest that vision, the entire kingdom had to work together, united by a singular, godlike goal. This is what makes Saqqara a true megaproject, not just its physical mass, but the national-scale mobilization of resources, labor, ideology, and time. Much of the Step Pyramid's success lies in the genius of Imhotep, one of the few non-royal individuals in Egyptian history to be deified. Architect, high priest, physician, and engineer, Imhotep's vision transcended what was imaginable in his time. He was not merely designing a tomb, he was inventing a new architectural language, one that would influence every pyramid that followed. To achieve this, he had to develop techniques for stacking and stabilizing heavy limestone blocks, for aligning structures with astronomical precision, and for ensuring long-term structural integrity, all without precedent. He had no models to follow, no other pyramids to draw inspiration from. He created the blueprint that all later pharaohs would imitate. But Imhotep's most remarkable achievement wasn't architectural, it was organizational. He envisioned a structure so immense that it required a proto-industrial level of coordination centuries before the Industrial Revolution. His work at Saqqara was the first time human beings had ever orchestrated such a complex project and succeeded. The step pyramid is often overshadowed by the more symmetrical and photogenic pyramids of Giza. But in truth, Saqqara was the model upon which they were all built. Without Saqqara, there would be no Great Pyramid. It proved that stone could be shaped into ambition, that a centralized government could command the forces of nature and labor, and that architecture could serve both the gods and the state. Even today, when we visit Saqqara, we don't just see a tomb. We see the moment Egypt became a true civilization, capable of planning, scaling, and executing an idea that required years of labor, thousands of workers, and a unifying national vision. It was not simply the resting place of a king, it was a statement that Egypt could think big, that permanence was possible, that with enough people, purpose, and power, even the desert could be transformed into eternity. Located just about 80 kilometers off the coast of Florida, west of Bimini Island, Bahamas, a series of massive stone blocks aligned beneath the ocean floor has long been a source of controversy and fascination. It has captured the imagination of thousands, from scientists and divers to believers in the mystical. The name Bimini Road evokes the image of an ancient structure once standing on dry land before being swallowed by the sea, leaving behind traces that continue to fuel endless debate. Have you ever heard of Bimini Road before? If you discovered a stone path under the ocean, would you think it's a natural formation or the remains of a forgotten civilization? Share your first impression in the comments. Bimini Road was first discovered in 1968 by a team of divers led by researcher J. Manson Valentine. When the first images of the structure emerged beneath the crystal-clear waters of the Caribbean Sea, observers were stunned. Before them lay a massive series of flat rectangular stone blocks aligned like an ancient stone-paved road stretching across the ocean floor. Each block measured between 2 to 4 meters in length, about 2 meters in width, and weighed several tons, arranged with such remarkable precision that many believed this could not have been a random product of nature. Notably, the formation is not perfectly straight, but curves gently in a specific direction, making it resemble a remnant of a long-lost construction, perhaps a foundation harbor or defensive wall swallowed by the sea long ago. This discovery immediately ignited a wave of debate regarding its true origin. From the moment it was discovered, Bimini Road became the focal point of one of the most controversial and fascinating theories that it is the remaining remnant of a civilization submerged beneath the sea, possibly the legendary Atlantis itself. What makes this theory particularly compelling is not just the power of imagination, but a series of geological anomalies and strange features that suggest a possible artificial origin. The first striking detail is the unusual shape and symmetry of the stone blocks. They are nearly square or rectangular, with edges that appear evenly worn, something difficult to explain through natural processes alone. The entire formation stretches over 800 meters, arranged in a gentle curve, like an ancient road or harbor structure, leading many to believe it could be a surviving fragment of a large-scale construction. Several prominent figures have openly supported this hypothesis, including Charles Berlitz, author of The Mystery of Atlantis, and Dr. Greg Little, a psychologist and amateur archaeologist. They argue that the symmetry, scale, and location of the formation go far beyond what could result from random natural forces. Even more intriguing is the prophecy of Edgar Cayce, who once declared that evidence of Atlantis would be found near Bimini around 1968 or 1969, and indeed, Bimini Road was discovered in 1968. For believers, this is far more than just a line of submerged stones. It is the physical trace of a prehistoric civilization that once thrived and was later forgotten by mainstream history. In addition to the main underwater stone structure, many divers and amateur researchers over the past decades have reported discovering other features that appear to be traces of artificial construction. Some large stone blocks are arranged into flat platforms, resembling foundations or support bases. Other stones bear strange markings, grooves, or unusual shapes that suggest they may have once served technical or ceremonial purposes. In certain areas, there are layered or stacked stone blocks with clearly defined square shapes, further fueling suspicion. While these details have not been officially confirmed by the scientific community, they remain mysterious puzzle pieces that support the belief that Bimini Road is not merely a natural formation, but a remnant of an ancient structure buried by the sea. Not everyone agrees with the mystical theory surrounding Bimini Road. Many geologists, especially Dr. Eugene Shin of the U.S. Geological Survey (USGS), argue that the entire structure can be fully explained by natural geological processes. According to their studies, the stones that make up Bimini Road are actually marine limestone formed thousands of years ago. This type of rock tends to crack along straight lines, a phenomenon known as natural jointing, causing it to break into large blocks with nearly square or rectangular shapes. Over time, factors such as erosion, karstification, the dissolution of limestone, and tectonic shifting have caused these blocks to move and settle close together in a seemingly organized pattern. As a result, they create the illusion of a deliberately constructed road. Their conclusion is clear: nature is fully capable of producing this formation without any human involvement. Another controversial aspect is the age of Bimini Road. Some isotope dating analyses suggest it's about 2,500 years old. Atlantis supporters argue it's over 10,000 years old, matching the time frame in which Plato claimed Atlantis disappeared. There is no absolute evidence or sample that can confirm a definitive age. This uncertainty leaves the door open to many possibilities, from a real ancient construction to a coincidental geological formation. Bimini Road lies within the infamous Bermuda Triangle, an area known for mysterious phenomena: ships and planes, disappearing compasses spinning wildly. While no scientific link has been proven, this geographic coincidence adds a layer of intrigue to every theory about Bimini. For decades, thousands of divers, filmmakers, and archaeology enthusiasts have traveled to Bimini to observe, film, and interpret this underwater road. Videos, photos, and 3D models have spread widely online, with each person offering their own interpretation, creating a maze of theories as captivating as the site itself. Today, even without a clear verdict, Bimini Road has become a cultural icon, a place where the boundary between science and legend fades. It's not just a geological curiosity, it represents the human desire to explore, to question, and to believe that the past holds secrets yet to be revealed. So what is Bimini Road really? An ancient road swallowed by the ocean? Or simply nature's clever game of geometry? The answer remains elusive. But what cannot be denied is this: the very ambiguity is what makes Bimini Road one of the world's most captivating mysteries, a place where anyone can dive deep literally and imaginatively to search for their own truth. Hidden deep in the remote forests of southern Siberia lies a megalithic enigma that has captivated archaeologists, adventurers, and alternative historians alike. Known as the Mount Sharia megaliths, this mysterious site in the Gornaya Sharia region of Russia contains some of the largest and most anomalous stone blocks ever discovered, each weighing hundreds to thousands of tons, some towering over 40 meters high. Arranged in patterns that seem too geometric, too deliberate to be random, These colossal granite formations raise one of the most tantalizing questions in modern exploration. Are they natural formations shaped by time and geology, or remnants of an unknown civilization, perhaps even the handiwork of giants? What do you think? Could such massive orderly stones truly be the work of nature alone? Or are we looking at the forgotten traces of something far older and more mysterious? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Have you ever seen anything like this before? At first glance, the Mount Shoria rocks resemble a ruined fortress wall. Huge rectangular blocks appear neatly stacked with sharp angles and near-perfect right-angled corners. Some look as if they've been precision cut with advanced tools, complete with smooth surfaces, linear edges, and uncanny symmetry. Such features would be impressive in any architectural context, but here they emerge from the wilderness, far from any known cultural center, and even farther from any accepted narrative of early civilization. What makes the mystery of Mount Shoria especially compelling is not just the size of the stones or their uncanny alignment, it is what's not found at the site. Unlike other megalithic wonders around the world, from Stonehenge to the pyramids of Egypt, Mount Shoria lacks all the typical cultural traces that would suggest human activity. There are no tools scattered near the base of the blocks, no pottery shards, no signs of habitation, no carvings or inscriptions, and most significantly, no evidence of who might have built them or why. This total absence of archaeological context is highly unusual. Even the oldest known stone constructions, such as Göbekli Tepe or the ruins of Baalbek, come with some form of cultural footprint. Whether in the form of burial remains, ritual items, or artistic engravings, ancient sites typically leave clues. But at Mount Shoria, the silence is deafening. The stones rise like ghosts from the earth, massive and mute, surrounded only by trees and time. For traditional archaeologists, this lack of evidence is precisely why they argue the site is purely geological. They attribute the formations to natural tectonic processes such as vertical jointing, weathering, and freeze-thaw erosion over millions of years. According to this view, the blocks are nothing more than fractured granite slabs, coincidentally shaped into what appear to be architectural forms. But skeptics of this explanation point to several details that challenge the natural formation theory. Some blocks appear to be lifted and placed atop one another, defying the random logic of erosion. In certain places, horizontal stacking meets vertical alignment, creating patterns reminiscent of stone fortifications. The edges between blocks are so sharp and the angles so precise that some believe they cannot be the accidental outcome of time and nature alone. More puzzling still is the fact that no extensive geological survey has been conducted to settle the debate. The Russian scientific community has largely ignored the site, and no major archaeological excavation has taken place. This absence of formal study only fuels speculation. Why hasn't Mount Shoria been fully investigated? Is it simply too remote and logistically difficult, or is something more deliberate at play? Without cultural artifacts to anchor the site in time, theorists have turned to more radical ideas. Some believe the megaliths are the ruins of a forgotten civilization, one that predates written history and possessed engineering capabilities far beyond what we associate with prehistoric peoples. Others suggest that Mount Shoria may be a natural site that was later modified, a sort of canvas shaped by both nature and intelligent hands. Perhaps the most controversial theory is that the megaliths are the work of ancient giants, beings referenced in mythologies across the world. From the Nephilim of the Hebrew Bible to the giants of Norse legends, tales of massive humanoids capable of lifting stones too heavy for men have long circulated in human folklore. Could the Mount Shoria blocks be their handiwork? Mainstream science rejects such ideas, but proponents point to other enigmatic megaliths, like those at Baalbek in Lebanon, where the stone of the pregnant woman weighs over 1,000 tons, and ask the same question: who moved these stones and how? And if such feats could be accomplished in the distant past, why are there no remnants of the technology or culture that would be needed to achieve them? At Mount Shoria, the mystery deepens precisely because there is nothing else to find. No tools, no settlements, not even signs of quarrying. Just the stones. Mount Shoria's remote location adds another layer to its mystery. Nestled in the Kemerovo Oblast of southern Siberia, the site is surrounded by dense mountainous forest, with no major roads or infrastructure nearby. There is no official tourist path, no protective fencing, no information boards, just a massive stone anomaly in the wilderness, largely undocumented. Because of this, most of the information available comes from independent explorers and fringe researchers, many of whom visited the site at great personal effort. Their photographs and videos reveal the scale and strangeness of the formations, but without scientific backing, their claims remain speculative. Yet the lack of academic interest itself is suspicious to some, prompting questions about academic inertia, government disinterest, or even intentional dismissal of anything that contradicts mainstream chronology. In the end, the Mount Shoria megaliths remain suspended between two worlds, one of natural wonder and one of unanswered questions. They could very well be the product of geological processes sculpted by the patient hand of time. Or they might represent a chapter of human or pre-human history that has been lost, a story buried beneath the moss and silence of the Siberian wilderness. What's undeniable is the awe they inspire. Whether you believe they were carved by giants, erected by forgotten engineers, or formed by nature's own symmetry, the megaliths of Mount Shoria challenge us to look again, not just at the stones, but at the limits of what we assume about the past. And perhaps the greatest mystery is not what's there, but what's missing. High in the sacred valley of Peru, nestled among the Andean mountains, lies one of the most astonishing feats of ancient engineering, Ollantaytambo. This site, once a royal estate and ceremonial center of the Inca Empire, is best known for its massive stone terraces, giant steps carved into the mountainside, each formed from enormous blocks of pink granite. But what truly baffles historians and engineers alike is not just the scale, but the perfection. What's more impressive to you, the size of the stones or the perfection of the cuts? Share your thoughts, theories, or even wild guesses. We want to know what you think. The Wall of the Six Monoliths at Ollantaytambo is one of the most mysterious structures remaining from the Inca civilization, not just because of its massive size, but because of the astonishing precision in its construction. Each stone in the wall weighs around 50 tons, yet they stand upright and fit together so tightly that not even a thin razor blade can slide between the seams. What's remarkable is that these stones were not held together by mortar, yet they've endured for centuries, withstanding powerful earthquakes. Their surfaces are so flat, they reflect light like mirrors, and the corners are crafted with absolute precision. There are no rough cuts or signs of crude chiseling. This isn't just a pile of stacked stones. It's a system of interlocking blocks that were cut, shaped, and finished at a level that even modern technology finds hard to replicate. And so the question remains, how did the Inca, without steel wheels or machinery, achieve such perfection? How did the Inca, with no known writing system and no metal tools capable of cutting granite, manage such precision? According to mainstream archaeological views, the Inca are believed to have shaped their stone blocks using simple tools like hammerstones combined with sand, abrasion, a labor-intensive process requiring hours, even days of constant grinding to achieve the desired surface. However, when examining the structures at Ollantaytambo directly, this theory starts to lose credibility. The stone edges here are razor-sharp, the corners are nearly perfectly square, and the surfaces are so smooth they resemble cuts made by modern industrial machinery. There are no signs of chipping misalignment or rough handling, nothing that resembles the product of primitive methods. These details suggest that this was not the accidental outcome of basic tools, but rather the deliberate work of highly skilled craftsmanship and sophisticated techniques that remain unexplained to this day. Another astonishing detail at Ollantaytambo is the presence of internal right-angle cuts, precise 90-degree angles, carved deep inside the joints between stone blocks. These are the kinds of cuts that are extremely difficult to execute with modern tools, let alone with ancient ones. Some stones aren't simply joined along flat surfaces, they are interlocked in 3 dimensions with protrusions that fit perfectly into corresponding recesses on neighboring blocks. It's like an ancient 3D puzzle crafted with incredible precision. This level of accuracy goes far beyond aesthetics. It served a structural purpose, reinforcing the construction and increasing its stability against seismic shocks, a constant threat in the Andean region. In fact, Ollantaytambo has withstood multiple powerful earthquakes, while many surrounding colonial-era buildings, supposedly more modern, were severely damaged. This raises a compelling question. Did the Inca already understand earthquake-resistant engineering centuries ago? But perhaps the most haunting question is this: if the Inca truly carved these blocks with only stone hammers, why is there so little evidence of error? No chisel marks, no misaligned joints, no signs of failed cuts or trial runs. It's as though each stone was crafted with an intent and precision difficult to reconcile with the tools said to be available at the time. Faced with the limitations of conventional explanations, some researchers have proposed more radical, sometimes even unorthodox theories. Could the Inca have possessed a form of technology that humanity has since lost? One intriguing idea suggests they may have extracted a type of acid from Amazonian jungle plants capable of temporarily softening the structure of stone, making it easier to mold and shape. Although there is no solid scientific proof for this, the theory remains fascinating and widely discussed. Other theories go even further, proposing that the Inca may have harnessed high-frequency sound vibrations capable of weakening the molecular bonds within stone and enabling smoother cuts. While these ideas border on science fiction, they reflect the extent to which modern minds struggle to explain what seems inexplicable, and how at times our current ignorance may be hinting at a forgotten past we're not yet ready to face. The mystery deepens when we consider where these stones came from. The granite used in the Temple of the Sun was quarried across the valley, high up on the opposite mountain face, more than 6 kilometers away and 400 meters higher in elevation. To get each 50-ton block to the site, the builders would have had to drag it down steep terrain, across a river, and then up again. This alone is an engineering puzzle, but moving a stone is one thing, shaping it with mirror-smooth precision is another. And so, we arrive at a crossroads between explanation and awe. Was this simply the result of generations of skilled labor, fueled by religious devotion and perfected by trial and error? Or was there knowledge perhaps lost, or perhaps purposefully hidden, that gave these ancient builders tools beyond what we currently understand? What makes Ollantaytambo so powerful is not just its scale or age, it's the impossible cleanliness of the work, the flatness of the surfaces, the way corners don't round off over time, the consistency across all blocks. In a world where we often celebrate modern technology, here lies a site that quietly whispers, "You still don't know everything." Today, visitors walk among these giant steps, often unaware of the mysteries that lie beneath their feet. But those who pause, who run their hands along the flawless edges of the granite, are left with a question that echoes louder with each passing year. How were they cut so perfectly, and what does that say about what we've forgotten? In the high plains of Bolivia, at an altitude of over 3,800 meters above sea level, lies one of the most puzzling archaeological sites on Earth, Puma Punku. Part of the larger Tiwanaku complex, this ancient ruin has baffled scientists, engineers, and historians for decades. Not because of its age or because of the civilization that built it, but because of how it was built. The stonework at Puma Punku demonstrates a level of precision engineering and architectural mastery that defies modern tools and challenges everything we think we know about the capabilities of ancient peoples. If ancient civilizations didn't have high-tech tools, how do you think they achieved such extraordinary precision at Puma Punku? Do you believe it was human ingenuity or something more mysterious? One of the most astonishing features that makes Puma Punku such a mysterious archaeological site is the presence of massive stone blocks crafted with near-perfect precision. Scattered across the high plateau are blocks of andesite and red sandstone, each weighing between 50 and over 100 tons, as if they were once part of a giant structure that has since collapsed. But what truly shocks researchers is not just their size or weight, but how they were cut. The surfaces are flawlessly flat, and the corners are carved into almost perfect right angles, with tolerances measuring within thousandths of an inch, a level of precision that even modern machinery struggles to achieve. Remarkably, many of these blocks feature grooves, holes, and interlocking notches carved so precisely that they fit together like giant Lego pieces. This suggests that the stoneworking techniques at Puma Punku were not only advanced, but may have surpassed our current technology in some aspects, raising a profound question: who built it and how? Among the ruins of Puma Punku, the most remarkable are the H-shaped stone blocks, commonly referred to as H-blocks, which have become symbols of mystery and seemingly timeless engineering. These massive stones are carved into perfect H shapes, with flawless symmetry, each one almost identical in size, depth, groove placement, and corner angles. Their surfaces are extremely smooth, and the inner corners are so sharply and precisely cut that even modern stone-cutting technologies would struggle to achieve such perfection without highly calibrated measuring instruments. Engineers who have studied these blocks found tolerances of less than 1 to 10,000 of an inch, a level of precision typically seen only in aerospace or high-tech manufacturing. And yet, here it is, embedded in ruins thousands of years old, a paradox that challenges the entire traditional narrative of engineering history. What's even more mysterious is how these stones were carved. The people of the Tiwanaku culture, active in this region around 500–1000 CE, are not known to have possessed iron tools, advanced metallurgy, or even the wheel. Yet the workmanship suggests the use of machine-grade lathes, drills, and straight-edge cutters. There are even perfectly bored circular holes, evenly spaced and smooth, that resemble the work of modern power drills, all done in some of the hardest stone materials available in nature. Even with modern technology, recreating the stone blocks at Puma Punku remains a serious challenge. Many stonemasons and engineers have admitted that without diamond tools, laser leveling devices, or computer-aided design CAD software, achieving the level of precision seen at this site is nearly impossible. The idea that ancient people could have used only stone hammers and copper chisels, the only tools believed to exist at the time, to craft such perfect grooves, right angles, and smooth surfaces, seems almost unimaginable. In fact, to replicate a single H-block with identical precision, today technicians would require detailed 3D models, CNC cutting machines, and the assistance of specialized modern equipment. But the mystery doesn't stop at carving. These blocks weren't quarried locally. Many of them were transported from sites 10 to 90 kilometers away, across rugged terrain, steep inclines, and rivers, without the aid of wheels cranes or animals capable of hauling multi-ton stones. And when they finally arrived at Pumapunku, they were not just dumped, they were assembled with extraordinary care and alignment in ways that have withstood the harsh weather conditions of the high Andes for centuries. The layout of Pumapunku also suggests a level of sophisticated planning. Scholars believe it may once have been part of a ritual complex or a gateway structure, possibly aligned with astronomical events. However, much of the site lies in ruin today, not due to erosion or neglect, but possibly from a cataclysmic event that shattered and toppled many of the stones. Some researchers speculate a massive earthquake may have destroyed the complex, scattering the massive blocks that now lie strewn across the ground like the remnants of a collapsed futuristic city. Because of the extreme precision and the inexplicable techniques required to create it, Pumapunku has become a lightning rod for alternative theories. Some believe the site was built using a now lost ancient technology forgotten in the sands of time. Others suggest the influence of a pre-flood advanced civilization, far older than Tiwanaku. And then, of course, there are those who point to extraterrestrial intervention, ancient astronauts who may have shared technology with early humans, resulting in feats of engineering we still can't match today. Mainstream archaeology rejects these ideas, attributing the achievements to the ingenuity of the Tiwanaku culture, now largely lost to history. But even the most cautious researchers struggle to explain the methods and tools that would have allowed for such precision, especially given the lack of written records, metallurgy, or sophisticated transportation systems. In recent years, 3D scanning and digital modeling of the blocks have only deepened the mystery. The more scientists study them, the more questions arise. Why were the stones cut in such complex, interlocking shapes, if not to support a highly engineered structure? Why is there no evidence of trial and error, of discarded mistakes, or half-finished blocks? And most importantly, how did they achieve such perfection without any of the tools we take for granted today? Pumapunku stands as a silent enigma, not just a ruin, but a challenge, a monument that seems to whisper across the centuries. You don't really understand your past. Its stones, unmoving and undecayed, contain questions that modern science has yet to fully answer. And perhaps somewhere beneath the surface, or in the mathematical symmetry of its design, the truth still lies waiting to be discovered. Because sometimes the most advanced technologies aren't the ones ahead of us. They're the ones we've forgotten. In the sun-scorched deserts of southern Iraq, rising out of the dust like a forgotten monument to the sky, stands one of the most enigmatic structures of the ancient world, the Great Ziggurat of Ur. Built over 4,000 years ago by the Sumerians, the earliest known civilization on Earth, this towering step pyramid was once the centerpiece of the ancient city of Ur, dedicated to the moon god Nana. To archaeologists, it is a religious temple. To some, it is a marvel of early engineering. But to others, it may be something far stranger, a portal, a stargate, or a forgotten relic of advanced knowledge far beyond its time. What was the true purpose of this immense ziggurat? And why, after millennia of study, do so many questions remain unanswered? Which theory makes the most sense to you? Share your thoughts, theories, or even wild guesses. We want to know what you think. The Great Ziggurat, commissioned by King Urnamu around 2100 BCE, is a massive structure made of sun-baked and fired bricks standing on a rectangular base over 60 meters long and nearly 30 meters high in its original form. Unlike the Egyptian pyramids, the ziggurat was not a tomb. It was a sacred platform, a bridge between heaven and earth, believed to connect the mortal world with the realm of the gods. At its summit once stood a temple reserved for priests and divine rituals off-limits to the public. For the people of ancient Sumer, this was more than just architecture. It was theology in stone, a physical ladder to the celestial realms. The ziggurat of Ur is one of the best preserved and most studied ziggurats of the Mesopotamian world, yet even now, new mysteries continue to emerge. Over the centuries, local legends have grown around the site. Some say it inspired the biblical tale of the Tower of Babel. Others believe it was a place where gods descended from the sky, or perhaps where they returned. These stories might sound mythical, even fantastical, but they're fueled by real questions that science hasn't been able to fully answer. Among all the theories, the most tantalizing and hotly debated is the idea that the ziggurat holds traces of lost technical knowledge secrets embedded in its very design, construction, and surrounding artifacts. Over decades of excavation, archaeologists have discovered strange objects and symbols near the site of Ur. Clay tablets found in adjacent temple rooms bear not just religious texts, but also precise astronomical calculations. Some even seem to track the movements of celestial bodies with astonishing accuracy, suggesting the Sumerians had knowledge of planetary cycles, lunar eclipses, and stellar alignments centuries before such data was recorded elsewhere. How did a civilization from the Bronze Age, with no telescopes or modern instruments, develop such insight into the heavens? Even more puzzling are the alignments of the structure itself. Some researchers have observed that the ziggurat's orientation and the position of its stairways appear to correspond to specific celestial events like the moonrise on solstices or equinoxes, aligning with the worship of Nana, the moon god. Others believe the structure encodes mathematical proportions found later in Babylonian star maps and even ancient Greek geometry. Could the ziggurat have doubled as an ancient observatory? Its high elevation and wide platform would have offered an unobstructed view of the night sky, perfect for celestial tracking. Some researchers argue that the entire complex of Ur, with its ziggurat at the center, was a cosmic diagram reflecting the heavens on Earth. And what if this was more than metaphor? If the Sumerians used the ziggurat to watch the stars, might they have seen more than just planets and comets? Could the stories of gods descending actually describe sightings of celestial objects, meteors, or even encounters with unexplained phenomena? Of all the speculative ideas surrounding the Great Ziggurat, none is as controversial or as captivating as the Stargate theory. Popularized by writers like Zecharia Sitchin and echoed in modern science fiction, the theory suggests that structures like the ziggurat were not just symbolic, but functional portals through which beings from other worlds could arrive. The multi-tiered design, the strange electromagnetic readings recorded at nearby sites, and the references to gates to the heavens in Sumerian myths all fuel this idea. Supporters point to the Anunnaki, mysterious deities in Sumerian lore, said to have descended from the skies as possible visitors not from the divine realm but from distant stars. They argue that the Great Ziggurat was not just a temple, but a technological interface built by or for beings who came from beyond Earth. There is no concrete evidence for this, of course. Mainstream archaeology rejects it. But the mystery persists because so much remains unexplained. Despite restoration efforts and decades of study, the ziggurat still keeps its secrets. Why were some bricks magnetized? Why are certain sections reinforced with materials not typical of the time? Why do some carvings near the foundations appear anachronistic, showing symbols later found in unrelated cultures? The deeper scientists dig, the more they find hints, not confirmations of something larger. A purpose that went beyond religion, beyond politics, perhaps even beyond what we usually consider possible in the ancient world. Could it be that the Great Ziggurat of Ur is not just a temple, but a monument to a forgotten intelligence, whether human, divine, or otherwise, one that possessed a deeper understanding of the cosmos, encoded it in bricks and angles, and left it for future generations to puzzle over? Or are we merely projecting our modern desires for mystery and meaning onto the past? Either way, the ziggurat stands silent, weathered, and unyielding, a structure caught between history and myth, science and speculation. Whether it was a tower to the gods or a gateway to the stars, it continues to challenge our understanding of what ancient humanity was truly capable of. And perhaps that's its greatest secret of all. Drop a comment below and let us know when and where you're watching this video. Wishing you all a wonderful day. On a quiet hillside in the town of Westford, Massachusetts, lies an old granite slab that at first glance appears to be nothing more than a natural relic. But under the right light from the right angle, faint carvings begin to emerge, as if someone from a distant past deliberately left behind a mark. That carving, now widely referred to as the Westford Knight, stands at the center of one of the strangest archaeological mysteries in American history. Could a European knight, possibly a member of the Templar Order, have set foot on this land centuries before Christopher Columbus ever set sail? Do you believe this carving could truly be a medieval knight or just an illusion of nature? If the Templars really reached America in the 1300s, what else might they have left behind? Share your thoughts, theories, or even wild guesses. We want to know what you think. The famous carving on the Westford stone is neither a grand work of art nor something easily visible to the naked eye. On the contrary, it is extremely faint, blending in with natural erosion marks. But when enhanced with chalk or scanned in 3D, a strange shape emerges: a human figure standing upright, holding what appears to be a shield or a sword, and wearing a helmet or armored headgear. Many alternative researchers, especially author David Goudsward and investigator Scott Walter, believe this is the image of an armored knight, possibly from the 14th century. The upright posture, bent knees, and especially what appears to be a great helm, a type of helmet common during the medieval period, are all cited as clues suggesting it could not be a coincidence. Some even claim they can make out a broadsword with a long blade and clearly defined hilt. If this really is a man-made carving from the medieval era, it would constitute a groundbreaking archaeological discovery, proof that Europeans may have reached America nearly 100 years before Columbus sailed in 1492. Even more intriguing, the depiction of a knight raises a dramatic question. Could this be evidence of the legendary Templar Order and their secret expeditions? One of the most controversial aspects of the Westford Knight carving lies in this: it does not resemble any form of Native American rock art found in the northeastern United States. Indigenous carvings in this region are typically abstract, featuring animal symbols, geometric patterns, or repetitive motifs often created for ceremonial purposes, territorial markers, or mythological storytelling. In contrast, the Westford Knight appears to depict a distinct human figure, shown standing upright, holding what seems to be a sword or shield with details that resemble a European medieval helmet. This stark difference makes it difficult for many to accept the natural erosion explanation. How could weathering alone produce a humanoid form so closely aligned with the image of a European knight from head to hand with such uncanny precision? A compelling theory pursued by many independent researchers links the Westford Knight carving to Henry Sinclair, a 14th-century Scottish nobleman. According to several controversial accounts, after the Templar Order was disbanded by the Church in 1312, surviving members went underground, and Sinclair was believed to have close ties with them. Central to this legend is a daring transatlantic expedition led by Sinclair in 1398, nearly a century before Columbus set foot in the New World. Some historians suggest that Sinclair's fleet reached the northeastern coast of what is now Massachusetts. There, a knight named Sir James Gunn, possibly part of the expedition, is said to have died. The Westford Knight carving is thought to be a stone memorial honoring him. If this theory holds any truth, it would not simply be a romantic legend. It would represent tangible evidence of European presence in America almost 100 years before the Age of Discovery officially began. Despite the allure and symbolic weight of the Westford Knight carving, mainstream archaeologists remain deeply skeptical. According to them, there is no physical evidence whatsoever in the surrounding area to support the theory of a pre-Columbian European presence. No campsites, no European artifacts, no pottery shards, weapons, or any form of medieval debris have ever been discovered at Westford, items that a genuine expedition would likely have left behind. Furthermore, many scholars argue that the carving could simply be a collection of natural scratches combined with a psychological phenomenon known as pareidolia, the human tendency to perceive familiar images in random patterns. From this perspective, the knight is merely a projection of human imagination onto the rock surface. Some researchers even suggest that the clearer details of the carving may have been altered or enhanced in the 19th or 20th century, making it extremely difficult to determine the carving's original shape and age with any certainty. Although met with skepticism from the academic community, the Westford Knight carving cannot be entirely dismissed, especially as many independent researchers have conducted modern analyses to investigate its authenticity. Using high-resolution laser scanning, 3D modeling, and microstructural surface analysis, they discovered that the grooves are consistently deep, sharply cut, and do not follow natural erosion patterns. These features strongly suggest intentional human craftsmanship. Some researchers even claim to have identified the shape of a cross on what appears to be the figure's shield, further strengthening connections to medieval Templar symbolism. The Westford Knight is also not an isolated case. It is often associated with other mysterious sites across North America, supporting the theory that Europeans may have arrived in the Americas before the officially recognized Age of Exploration. Among these are the Newport Tower in Rhode Island, a circular stone structure believed to resemble Templar chapels in Europe; Dighton Rock, carved with undeciphered markings once thought to be Portuguese or Viking script; and most famously, the Kensington Runestone in Minnesota, a stone slab bearing Norse runes that has fueled intense controversy. Together, they form a chain of enigmatic traces that remain unsolved to this day. The Westford Knight, whether a genuine remnant of a European knight or simply a trick of time, remains a captivating tale. It touches on our deepest curiosity about who truly arrived in the Americas first. Has mainstream history overlooked something crucial? Could there have been undocumented voyages long before Columbus? If it's just a weathered rock, why does it so closely resemble a medieval knight? If it's a hoax, why hasn't anyone been able to conclusively prove it? The Westford Knight is more than a carving on stone. It's a symbol of the thin line between legend and history. And until a definitive answer is found, it will continue to inspire and divide those who are passionate about unsolved historical mysteries.